In this video, I'm going to teach you how to draw a landscape with atmospheric perspective. So basically, when you're drawing this landscape, you want to think about it as in layers. You want to think about drawing a part of your landscape behind another part, behind another part, behind another part, like foreground, middle ground, and background. When you are choosing what landscape to draw, you can do simple line shapes, hills, trees, like this image here. Or you could find a reference photo online of a specific place or city that you would like to have as your painting. For example, this student had a special connection to India, so they looked up buildings and trees that are in India to use as part of their painting. Again, notice how up front it is darker and bigger, and as I get further into the background, it gets lighter and lighter. When drawing in layers, I find that it really helps students to add tick marks on the left and right hand side of your page to divide up where your layers are going to be. So the first tick mark you'll see I make is a tick mark for the middle of my page. Does not need to be about perfect middle, just about the middle. Then I divide the bottom half again and the top half again with tick marks so that I have 3 tick marks on each side, which divides my paper into 4 sections. Once you have your tick marks on each side, you can think about drawing your layers by connecting one tick to the other tick. So here I'm starting my first layer with kind of a bumpy or wavy line to suggest some sort of hill in my landscape. And I want my landscape to relate to Italy. So I looked up an image of Italy on Google Images, and I found some trees and a building that I really liked in Italy. So I'm adding that to my first layered line here. I'm using simplified lines and shapes for these objects because I know that I'm going to be painting these. So I don't want to get my drawing too detailed where I can't paint it in later with a paintbrush. Once your first layer is done, you can move on to your second layer or your second set of tick marks. In my original picture that I found online, there is nothing behind that building and trees, so I'm just going to make up what I want behind that in my landscape. So in this example, I'm going to draw mountains, lines that are going up and down to connect those 2 tick marks as my second layer. Notice how none of my mountains are the same height. That helps to make it look more realistic. As you are drawing your layers, it helps to number them as you go along. So starting with my first layer, I'm going to put a 1 in everything that's part of my first layer, and then a 2 for the mountains, that's my second layer. By placing the numbers in each layer of your landscape, it's going to help you later to know what value you need to paint each of those layers. Moving on to my third layer, the last set of tick marks I have, I'm going to connect these tick marks with another layer of mountains, but this time I want my mountains to look like they are covered in trees. So when I make my lines going up and down, I'm going to make them kind of extra wiggly, a little extra chaotic to make it look like they're fuzzy, full of trees. Don't forget to number your layers as you go along, so that would be my third layer. In my sky, you'll see me add things like sun and a cloud. You could even add birds. Just make sure that as you are drawing these, you also number them as well so that when you paint them in, you know what value you should place. The last number, the last layer, your last value should be your sky. So here you will see me number all of my clouds as my 4th layer, then my sun as my 5th layer, and then lastly my sky as my 6th layer.